Jordan did start with the grades. Let's just kind of go into that right now. I know he gave a team grade. So, Jordan, it comes down to the ownership versus front office split, in my opinion. I would like you to give me a grade for Chaim Bloom and maybe a grade for John Henry / Tom Werner and all these guys. So, yeah.
It's tough to grade ownership because they did pony up the dough for Rafael Devers. And like at the end of the day, that's what we all wanted them to do, and maybe potentially started getting very pessimistic about the ability to open the wallet, or not ability to, but the willingness to open the wallet to him. They didn't do it for Bogarts, but I mean, is 30 compared to Devers. I think he's what, 26 years old. So there's a little bit of a difference in that regard. So I don't really. It's tough to grade the ownership. You kind of have to just look at it and say it kind of cancels each other out. I mean, Devers, you lost Bogarts, but then you also paid Yoshida a ton of money as well. I'd say probably like C to C plus for ownership, just because you still got Devers, you still paid Yoshida, so that is a lot of money they invested in those two players in particular. They also like dramatically overpaid Kenley Jansen, so they got a closer, one of the probably the 10 best ever to do it, 15 best ever to do it. So they spent a lot of money. They just didn't bring Bogarts back. They didn't bring JD back. But like I said, they adequately replaced some of the guys. So I'd say probably a C, C plus on John Henry, and I'd stick with a B for Chaim Bloom.
Jaclyn?
I just want to remind everyone, John Henry is a billionaire. He's $4 billion is his net worth. He owns Liverpool. He owns the Red Sox. He owns the Penguins. He owns a new concert stadium outside of Fenway Park for some reason, because Fenway is not a good enough concert stadium. He owns the Boston Globe, which I did not know that until I just did a little bit of research on it. Also, Fenway Sports Group owns Nesson, and they own a NASCAR company. They own so much, and you're telling me...
Sorry, I was going to say they also want an NBA team when the NBA inevitably expands to 32 teams.
Like, you're telling me that they can't pay these, they can't be the Padres and spend so much money on these teams. The cap, not an issue when you're John Henry and you're a billionaire. That's all I'll say on that matter. Chaim Bloom, as I referred to earlier, is just treating this team like they're Tampa Bay. And I don't know a single Tampa Bay fan, so I think that speaks something about the way that he managed that team, and what he's turning this team into personally. And this is also the caveat of, I'm a very casual fan. Like, I love the Red Sox. Like, I do watch them, but like, I don't, follow baseball in the broader sense of the word, throughout all of the teams like I do football. And seeing this like defeat of this team, especially now that I'm located in the New York area and the Mets and the Yankees are spending millions and billions of dollars on these people, is frustrating. Anyways, that's my 2 cents.
Frustrating is absolutely well put. My grade for Chaim Bloom is a D-, and the only reason that it's a D- is because he got my second favorite player in baseball to join the team, in Justin Turner. I love Justin Turner. I'm very happy he's here. I don't give him props for re-signing Rafael Devers. I put that in John Henry's camp. Chaim Bloom didn't do anything. Henry got booed and heckled at his own stadium in the Winter Classic, where his team was the visiting team, and said, I don't like to get bullied like this. Let's just go pony up the money. Or however he says it in his slug-like fashion. He got heckled into signing Rafael Devers. If you want proof that bullying works sometimes, this is it. This is as close as it's ever gonna get. I'm telling you right now, because I don't think that he wanted it. In his perfect world, he would not have signed Rafael Devers. In his perfect world, he wouldn't have come close to that. He would have given him the Matt Olson contract or whatever they offered him the first time. I think Matt Olson's 8 for 168 or something like that, Jordan? $21 million a year? I think
something like that, yeah.
I think that was their original offer to him, and he was like, "What are you offering me?" And I think if in his perfect world, that's the only offer he would have given him. Maybe a slightly more to 200, 230, I think is what he ended at before the end of the year, and then he gave it to him in the new year because he got heckled, like I said. Henry is a weird one because I have long thought that he has been willing to pony up money for players. I mean, we saw he paid Hanley and Sandoval a pretty penny. He was always willing to shell out for Ortiz, paid Pedroia. You can go on down the list. It feels like the more apathetic that he gets to this team, the more that it just becomes a business investment as opposed to a team or sports team. He doesn't care. He really doesn't. He'll funnel whatever money that you want him to, but if Chaim Bloom can convince him that he can get the same amount of production as from players A, B, and C as he could to player D, and he could pay A, B, and C a third of the money, he's going to do it. And he doesn't care. Like, I honestly don't know if he knows what goes on in the day-to-day operations of the Red Sox. Sam Kennedy does. Chaim Bloom does. I don't think John Henry does. I don't think he wants to know. That's kind of where I land on him. Grading him, again, a D. Like, I'm not gonna be nice to either one of these guys. I think they've royally flubbed this. It was hard coming off of last place finish, where I think he had the worst attendance that he's ever had for Henry at the gate. Like, fans were just not showing up down the stretch.
Yeah, not counting 2020 and 2021 because of the no attendance in 2020 and the limited capacity at the start of 2021.
A great point. Like, outside of those 2 years, this was his lowest attendance ever. I thought that he was going to feel that because you hit him where it hurts, his checkbook, and he was going to try and be like, you know what, let's invest. I was wrong. Like, I don't know. I understand he got Devers. I get it. It's a rich contract. But I'm not going to give anyone on that team, least of all Chaim Bloom, props for re-signing your own guys. That's what you should do. That's the whole point of baseball. That's why they have 80 bajillion arbitration years. Then you go sign him to a massive contract, or if you're Alex Anthopoulos, a ridiculously small contract, and you keep him forever. This is all I ask as a fan. I don't want to be the Rays where they're coming. It's a revolving door of players. Jaclyn's right. One of the other problems I have with Bloom. Sorry, Jordan. I know you've been trying to talk. I'll be very quick with this last.
No,
point.
I haven't been. I'm just sitting here.
Okay. It feels like they're signing everybody to 1 and 2 year contracts, and short-term contracts with large AAV. That's not terrible. But the problem is you run into a bunch of guys who are in contract years, and that could go one of two ways. Either they're going to way outperform their contract trying to get the next one, or they're really going to suck. I don't know how many guys are signed beyond next season. Do we do a flat number on that?
Devers is.
Give me a minute. Give me a minute.
Devers,
I'll pull it up.
Story, Sale.
Are we counting arbitration, guys?
No, I'm kind of.
Like,
I don't know.
Would Verdugo count?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, give me a second.
All right, he's doing his magic. But, like, my point being, it feels like they're signing, if you're going to go get a veteran, they're going Tommy Pham, expiring deal. Kike Hernandez, only a 1-year extension. Nate Eovaldi was in a contract year, didn't re-sign him. JD Martinez, go on down the list. Feels like they're really banking a lot on guys are going to have career years, and hopefully we can overachieve. Because as far as I'm concerned, this team finished last year, and they didn't make any real market improvement. Bullpen's a little bit better. Lineup is a whole lot worse. Pitching staff might be a little healthier. Like, wow. That's really supposed to get me to want to come to the park. I get to watch Rafael Devers and 8 bums take the field every day. Like, wow. So enjoyable. Chris Sale's going to get hurt again. I stalled enough for Jordan.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Okay, so I'm looking at, because I basically over winter break, because I have no life, I made a bunch of spreadsheets because, again, I have no life. But, like, so Yoshida and Devers are both controlled through at least 2025. Cassis is. Reese McGuire is. Rob Refsnyder is under control through 2024. So is Verdugo. Brian Bayo and Garrett Whitlock is through at least 2024. Barnes, Joely Rodriguez, and Corey Kluber all have a club option for 2024. Justin Turner has a player option for 2024. Chris Sale has a vesting option for 2025, but he is under control through next season, as is Chris Martin and Kenley Jansen. So a good amount of the roster is at least under control through 2024, and a decent amount through 2025, especially the guys like Yoshida and Devers and Cassis who you're trying to build around anyway. So I think a big part of why they're going with all these short-term deals is when you look in the minor league system, and I know it's proven over prospect in a lot of cases, but they were really high on Marcelo Meyer. He's probably 2-ish years away, so you're not going to go out and get a Carlos Correa for 8 to 10 years. I thought maybe you get him once the Mets contract fell through. I was thinking 4 years, opt out after 2. He hits the market again at 30. But obviously he went, what was it? It ended up being 6 years or 8 years with the
six for 200, I believe.
6 for 200, and then
options.
like four vesting options to make it to 10 years. I just think they're kind of trying to buy time until that next wave of, cream of the crop minor league talent comes up. Like I said with Meyer, Miguel Blaze,
But
guys like that. So
you're the Red Sox. You shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't. I'm sorry, Chaim. I know you love your freaking prospect pool. The Dodgers don't have to do that. The Dodgers can go out and sign anybody they want and still have the pool to back it up. But they can still trade guys if they want to go get a Max Scherzer and a Trey Turner. Yeah, I understand they didn't win a World Series, but they did. Keibert Ruiz and a bunch of other guys that were really good, if I'm not mistaken, right? They pushed all their chips into the middle to get those two guys. Scherzer was gone after a year.
Yes.
Yeah, and they still have a ton of prospects left. They're okay.
And they're a hell of a lot more fun to watch than
But
the
what I
Boston
will,
Red
but what I
Sox.
will say though, in fairness to Chaim Bloom, is when he took over in 2019 or end of 2019, early 2020, that range of time, they were one of the worst farm systems in baseball with a disgruntled superstar that they had to trade, an aging, high-priced pitcher in David Price, an injured Chris Sale. Like he had to kind of finagle his way around it. And I do think when you look back at the Mookie Betts trade, I think not trading Price and Betts separately kind of screwed them a little bit. They should have probably just traded Mookie to the Dodgers, gotten guys like Dustin May or Josiah Gray back, and then traded Price because there were other teams that wanted David Price. I know he had a no trade clause, but like St. Louis wanted him, and he almost signed there in 2016. And I don't see why he wouldn't have wanted to go there in 2020. The Angels wanted him. It's just like that is the one thing about that trade specifically that I think they kind of screwed up on, and also not getting a pitcher in return. But that is what it is.
I was going to say, for a guy who's very good at supposedly evaluating minor league talent, that's why he's got this ridiculous farm system. You got Alex Verdugo. Jeter Downs is gone now. Connor Wong is a fringe MLB guy at this point, more of a quadruple A player at this point. Like, you didn't do well for yourself in the return, and I can only get over that Gratterall kid still throwing 100. Now, I think he's had arm problems, so I'm not going to necessarily talk too much about it.
He's had arm problems and he's a reliever, but ultimately, I mean, nobody knew that all of minor leaguers, except for 40-man guys and like maybe 10 additional players, were going to lose an entire year of development because of COVID. Like, literally, Jeter Downs was a top flight prospect with the Dodgers and with the Reds before he got traded to Boston, and then 2020 happened. He didn't play. I know he was at the alt site for a little bit, but he barely played 2020. Connor Wong barely played in 2020. Even guys like Jarren Duran and Tristan Cassis didn't play very much in 2020. So they lost a year of development, and that's why it's kind of tough to grade like the return in terms of the prospects. Like Verdugo's a good player.
But other prospects aren't having the same problem, right? They're still developing, finding other
systems.
systems.
Is one of the worst players in the major leagues right now, and he was
the Mariners kid.
He's really, really bad.
But you got J-Rod next to him, who just made his debut too. Like,
J-Rod. I mean, but J-Rod's also a generational center fielder, so there's
I know, but you traded away a generational player, and you knew that you were never going to get enough ponies to match up to the stud that you gave away. But I would expect more than one pony to be around 3 years after that trade. I would.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a huge part of why they shouldn't have traded Betts and Price together. They would have gotten more if they just traded them separately.
That's fair. All right.
Because they also traded half of Price's contract, so that also killed the return, getting the $16 million off the books on David Price.